All right, amidst continued international scrutiny over buying Russian oil, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has defended India's energy trade practices, saying that it is not India but China and European Union that are the largest purchasers of Russian oil and liquefied natural gas. Highlighting the broader global energy context, Mr. Jaishankar said that India's actions are aligned with calls from the United States to help stabilize global energy markets. He further said that India continues to expand its energy imports from other sources as well. A significant factor is the current geopolitical landscape, which is undergoing a substantial shift. However, that's not the only reason this visit holds immense importance. Timing plays a crucial role here as well, as it precedes Russian President Vladimir Putin's anticipated visit to India later this year. We'll talk about this and a lot more with our guest. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, Dr. Sergei Dvoryanov, President of IDC Russia and Director of WHD International Board. He's joining us all the way from Moscow. Mr. Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce. He's joining us all the way from Washington, D.C. Mr. Andrew Latham, Professor of International Relations, is joining us from Minnesota in the United States. And last but by no means the least, Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, with us on the program as well. Professor Nalapat, I'll begin with you, sir. There is a great responsibility to shed a perspective on what has been done or what is going to be done by Donald Trump and where India stands as of now. In fact, the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar did not mince his words. He said the oil that India is importing from Russia was a call that was taken during the Biden administration because of the natural world order and the buying and selling protocols, which would have shifted trade arrangements towards a negative space. And the fact of the matter is, sir, that India is not the largest importer of Russian oil as well. Then why this adversarial tone by the Americans?
Well, I'd like to point to you that Nikki Haley has been trending on X after she said, and she warned President Trump, please don't fool around with India, words to that effect. India is a valued security partner where China is concerned, and you should mend fences with India. That is trending. The second point is that Minister Jaishankar is very articulate, and he is in a country that remembers that throughout the period of the earlier Cold War 1.0, India stood with Russia. India refused to join China in supporting the anti-Russian situation when it was not Russia, but the Soviet Union. And you remember that Lavrov came to the Alaska meeting with the USSR, kind of a jersey. So I only want to remind you, I think Minister Jaishankar expressed it very, very well. And I think so did Foreign Minister Lavrov. Both of them have the confidence of their superiors, which are being Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Putin respectively, and both are therefore speaking with authority about the government position. So I'd like to point out that so far Donald Trump is concerned, I think there's some kind of like as is common with President Trump, I think there's some kind of a personal kind of a vendetta against India, or a personal kind of, for whatever reason, and it completely flies in the face of global geopolitics. Global geopolitics mandates a strong India-US alliance. Prime Minister Modi has worked for that tirelessly since 2014, but Trump is basically forgetting all that for reasons that I frankly make no geopolitical sense at all, as Nikki Haley had pointed out. So I'd like to say, Vineet, that Russia, on the other hand, remembers us as a steadfast friend, as we do Russia. We have supported Russia right from the 1950s onwards, right and uninterruptedly, if I may say so. And that is something which the Chinese cannot say, because they were entirely on the American side during the earlier Cold War. So I would like to say, Vineet, I'm glad that Minister Jaishankar is in Moscow, where he met with Foreign Minister Lavrov,
Right, sir.
and I'm very happy that there's a renewal of basically of the confidence that India has in Russia's friendship and Russia has in India's friendship.
Absolutely
Beneath.
right. So we have some breaking news coming in at this point in time. Mr. Jaishankar has met Vladimir Putin in Moscow, and this is the first image we are getting of that particular meeting. Mr. Lavrov is looking on in the background. So the External Affairs Minister has met the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Mr. Vikri, coming to you and taking a leaf out of what Professor Nalapat also said. Sir, it has taken almost 3 decades for India and the United States to get to a point where they agreed on most matters, if not all. It started with Bill Clinton, who of course was the president when a number of sanctions were imposed on us because of our nuclear tests. And then again, a lot of groundwork was achieved under the Bush administration as well. Obama was specifically fond of Dr. Manmohan Singh. They did a lot of work together. Economic ties were to get better and better. Post Obama leaving office and when Donald Trump came in. And of course, India was the natural offset to the Chinese aggression, which the Americans were in fact suffering the most from. But yet this U-turn that Donald Trump has taken has also been criticized by his supporters. And the newest one, like Professor Nalapat also mentioned, Nikki Haley was extremely vocal in supporting India and the United States in their relationship. What does Donald Trump need to do now? Is he going to be a stickler to his ego, or is he going to take the right call?
Well, thanks very much for having me. It's always a pleasure, particularly an honor to be on with Professor Nalapat. I believe that you have to keep in mind that peace, like war, must be waged, and it requires both a strategy and a coalition. Unfortunately, President Trump has neither in mind. Everything is about him. It's aggrandizement. It's can I win the Nobel Peace Prize and show that I'm the greatest person on earth. Naturally, one would hope that India would be part of a coalition to try to bring peace. Unfortunately, what President Trump is doing drives India in exactly the opposite direction. What President Trump needs to do is to follow a path that Ronald Reagan had indicated, and that is not having everything to be about him and his getting the credit. Those things having been said, in regard to India and Russia, there is no substitute for a strong U.S.-India relationship between the two greatest democracies in the world. If you look at the amount of trade between Russia and India, before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, it was only about $10 billion, which pales in comparison to U.S.-India trade. It has ballooned because India has taken up a lot of the slack in terms of Russian exports. It is true that China is the major one to be looked at and is taking first place really in oil exports. But make no mistake about it, Russia and China are joined at the hip. They have said that they have a no limits partnership. In going back to 1962, when China invaded India, Russia took the part of China. So to say that somehow Russia is going to be a savior for India is just wrong. If you look at the history in terms of India relationships with the Russia incarnation as the USSR, which was nothing but the old Russian Empire taken over by the Bolsheviks. That didn't work out very well for India. The reliance on Russia had helped bring India to its knees economically in the early 1990s. The idea that somehow Russia will be an outlet for the exports which India has and needs for continued growth is a pipe dream. The United States is the place where particularly IT enables services. We have Indian Americans in leadership positions across business, and they provide people-to-people ties. So it's very, very regrettable what this President Trump is doing. But no one should confuse the United States of America with President Donald J. Trump. We have midterm elections coming up, which President Trump is trying to manage and fix, if you will. But I have every confidence that just as we have worked ourselves through difficulties in the past, we'll do that again. And what you say is absolutely true about 30 years of progress. As you know, I was one of the ones that worked very hard in regard to getting sanctions done away with when the test came about. I worked very hard in the U.S.-India civil nuclear deal. And we had made great progress. Unfortunately, President Trump has done more harm in 24 hours to the U.S.-India relationship than we were able to build up goodwill over 30 years. But that's not a permanent situation, and there are many on both sides in India and the United States who are working so that these two great democracies can go forward in a coalition for peace and prosperity throughout the world.
Ambassador Mukherjee, coming to you, ma'am. It's important to understand that America is not Donald Trump, but the fact of the matter is, has India's trust been broken? Has the confidence, the seamless confidence which was built over a few decades, has that been shattered? And can that come back to normal in the next few weeks, months or years, or if at all?
I would first of all like to express my appreciation to our colleagues from the US for all that he's done for us during difficult periods when we know what a role you played in the India-US nuclear deal, etc. And I completely agree with you that we here in India feel particularly let down because a nation of 1.4 billion people had put its complete trust in the United States being its key strategic partner. Put its complete trust in the ability of the United States to partner with India in having a rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific, hence Quad, and taking on the wrath of our neighbor China, which in both in nuclear and conventional military terms has an asymmetric edge over us somewhat. That being said, I would like to quote what John Bolton said. He said that Trump is an aberrational president with no legacy. I agree with him. And if he is an aberrational president with no legacy, then Vineet, my answer to your question is, we don't have to worry about how much damage he's doing by tramping over us like a bull in a china shop, humiliating us, destroying the trust of the people of India and the people of the United States, making us question ourselves, asking, were we foolish? Did we lack judgment in putting our entire faith in the United States? And the answer was given by John Bolton. There is no legacy. He will move on, and India and United States will regard this period as an aberrational period in India-US relations. That being said, I would also like to add that the former USSR, now the Russian Federation, had an extremely close relationship with India since independence. And in India, we have not forgotten what the then USSR did when in 1971 they said niet 11 times in the Security Council to get the liberation of Bangladesh at a very difficult time in India-US relations, worse than now, because we were at the mercy of both Nixon and Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, who had insulted India's Prime Minister by describing her in terms that I cannot even begin myself to speak on national television. Under those circumstances, if we survive Nixon and Kissinger, surely we will survive Trump. But more than that, it is to remind our American guests that we do owe something to the Russians. It's a time-tested friendship. In 1962, the then head of the Chinese government, Chow En-lai, wanted to teach Jawaharlal Nehru a lesson. That's why he did what he did. And as I've often said in the Ukrainian context, in sorrow, that when you lose territory in conflict, as India did in 62 to China, you never get it back. And the sooner President Zelensky understands it, the better it is. You don't get it back. It's as simple as that. India never got it back. We lost Akshay Chin forever. We're never going to get it back. But given the kind of position that Trump has pushed India into, what options do we have? When we are being insulted, we are being told that we're going to get additional 25% sanctions because we and we alone are fueling Russia's war against in Ukraine, as if we have actually invaded Ukraine and held Putin's hand and told him, yes, please kill so many thousand Ukrainians every day with drones, etc. In such a situation, we fall back as the land of Chanakya, that you would know very well. We are the land of Chanakya. When we are faced with problems, we look at other strategic assets. And what are they? They are, as far as we are concerned, the Russian Federation, the European Union, France particularly, a very trusted friend, UK with whom we've done an FTA, ASEAN with whom we are renegotiating an FTA, and to make amends with China, because we are in no position to do anything else. And
Right.
the Chinese are holding up rare minerals and all kinds of stuff, which they are now releasing. So what option do we have when we have the person who we thought was our best friend kicking us every day and humiliating us? We have to fall back. We have no other option. But yes, I
You're
agree
right.
with Mr. Bolton. He's an aberrational president. When he's gone, I at least will put this period behind us as the second worst stage in India-US relations after Nixon and Kissinger. Vineet.
Absolutely right, ma'am. Let me also rope in Dr. Sergey Dvoryanov, who's joining us all the way from Moscow. Dr. Sergey, thank you for being here, sir. While BRICS is also, another forum that Donald Trump has had a problem with. Now we have seen that, the Chinese are opening doors towards India as well. They may have helped Pakistan in Operation Sindoor, but the fact of the matter is, even the Chinese want the Americans to falter. Has Donald Trump given them an opportunity now?
Namaste. Thank you for invitation. First of all, I want to tell that all actions and announcements of Donald Trump is just inertial thinking. We can see that new reality is multipolar world, and even his actions, mistakes, did not destroy the union between Russia and India. Because of this, I can frankly tell, stupid announcement and sanction, we can see that exactly next day, national security of India, Ajit Doval, came to Moscow to see our national leader. And our national leader soon will come to New Delhi to see the Prime Minister of India. In this case, we can tell that Donald Trump make our union, our friendship more stronger. That's why, of course, right now, America losing their position to be a leader. The leadership of America is a big question mark. Why? It's not because of economical reasons. It's only because of ethical reasons. We can see that we cannot come again to the reality where one country or one part of the world, of the planet, can decide how other nations will growing up and come to their achievements and prosperity. Right now, pure ideology, next ideology of golden age should be Vasudeva Kutumbakam. All nations, they're together one family. Family of whom? Family of God. That is a pure Vedic concept. It's a very authentic and Asian. That's why it's not artificial. It's organic concept. And we can see the two leaders right now in the world, in this planet, especially Vladimir Putin and Shri Narendra Modi ji, they can develop this concept and they can come to the platform where they will announce that we're living in interdependence world. Welcome to new reality, actually spiritual reality, interdependence world. This is very important. That is actually formula of freedom. Freedom, democracy, like previous speakers told about democracy. Yes, I agree. But I'm not a big fan of democracy, frankly speaking. Because we can see that sometimes democracy manipulates of the opinions of the population. We should educate population and we should come to some kind of new political system where educated person, very responsible persons, they will take care about the future of our planet. That right now we can see, according to the current situation, Donald Trump pushed us to the golden age because of his not responsible at all behavior. That's why we can see, even I think right now he's also thinking, maybe I was wrong, because I agree, so brave, all representative of Indian elite like Ajit Doval and Dr. Jaishankar right now, who is in Moscow, they show that India is not colonized country. India is very much big spiritual leader right now who can announce a real agenda of interdependence world. That's why we should step by step to create such kind of political system where Donald Trump also can be educated by us.
Okay, fair enough. Good points. Mr. Latham, do you think that Donald Trump is going to roll back not only the tariffs, but the attitude also, which has been prevalent in the last few days? Is this a part of the art of the deal, or do you think that the people who are closest to him, his advisors, people who in fact sometimes weigh in on certain of his decisions, will eventually give in and understand the importance and pertinence India holds at this point in time?
Well, I think it's obvious, should be obvious to everybody, that Donald Trump changes his mind every 5 minutes, or is certainly capable of changing his mind every 5 minutes. So I'm not taking anything off the table. I think it's sometimes the case that we fixate on the trees and we miss the forest. And Donald Trump is a tree. He's not the forest of American foreign policy. And I would agree with Ambassador Mukherjee here. I think she's quite right, channeling John Bolton. This is an aberrational moment. There are deep tectonic pressures at the geopolitical level pushing India and the United States together. Having said that, India has a long strategic tradition of non-alignment, and now it's morphed into multi-alignment. Of course, it's going to maintain its relationship with Russia. That is long-standing, since independence for India. It doesn't mean that India doesn't do business with the United States, whether it's economic business or whether it's geopolitical business. It certainly does. It doesn't mean that the winds don't shift, to mix metaphors here. They have shifted. First of all, before President Trump, India and the United States were growing closer. And now, I think temporarily, they're moving farther apart. It doesn't surprise me that Prime Minister Modi is poking Donald Trump in the eye with some of the pronouncements that he's made around this. That's the rational reaction of a statesman, right? You mess with me, I'll mess with you back. And when I look at some of the developments in Indian-Russian relations, there's even talk about collaborating in Arctic development of petroleum products. There's a lot of collaboration and cooperation there. It doesn't mean that India is in the Russian camp. Those days are over, and Donald Trump can't understand that. He thinks there's an American camp, a Chinese camp, and a Russian camp, and you're either all in one or you're all in the other. That's Cold War thinking, and despite what some people would have you believe, This is not Cold War 2.0. That's a mistaken analogy that gets us into all kind of trouble. Donald Trump thinks it's Cold War 2.0. And that's the kind of troubled thinking that you get us into, that he's getting us into. Trump's got, what, 3 years and a bit left? He will be seen as a blip, as an aberration, I think. And the big, deep geopolitical and domestic political pressures. Nikki Haley is the tip of a huge iceberg in the United States, which is the Indian diaspora, which is very wealthy and increasingly active in politics. And it's up for grabs. It might trend, as it has historically, Democrat Party, but it started to move before, in the early days of Trump, started to move Republican. Is it going to move the other way? I mean, that remains to be seen. So there's a lot of moving parts here, again, to mix metaphors. I think I will be happy when Donald Trump exits the stage, because we won't have to worry about him anymore, and we won't have to talk about him anymore. And we can talk about really important things, which are India's national interests, America's national interests, how those can be misunderstood at times. I think Donald Trump misunderstands fundamental American interests here. Miscalculation, miscommunication, all of those things are at play in international politics. But national interests, I think I was on the show recently where somebody quoted Lord Palmerston. States don't have permanent friends or enemies, but they do have permanent interests, even as those kind of shift in the particulars over time. I, again, I've said this before on this show, am very optimistic about the medium to long-term relations between India and the United States. I don't have any doubts, but we have to weather the storm in the short to medium term.
All right. Appreciate everybody who joined us, Mr. Latham. Fabulous points. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this conversation. In fact, we spoke about a multitude of areas which should be a case study in where this relationship is going.